What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 80 of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that's about Sonic news, and Sonic movie news. My name is Ethan, and with me, as always, is Devin.
Suckers!
There is a few lines in this movie that, as soon as I heard them, he should do that one. And then, I forget about it. But Suckers is a lame one, and I wish you did better. You need to do better.
There's a lot of, this movie has so many that I feel like I could have picked any of them.
They're all
any
lame.
Of the lines.
There are better ones than that one. In any case, for today's episode, as I'm sure you've seen by this episode's title, we are talking about the film titled Mortal Kombat Annihilation, released in the year
1997?
No, not 87, 97.
I said 97.
1997. Sorry, I was pulling up the document. Released in the year 1997, we were talking about Mortal Kombat Annihilation on today's episode, running at a nice hour and a half. Oh my god, so freaking glad.
Make movies an hour and a half again. All right?
Please.
Snyder.
Now, this film is a sequel to, if you can believe it or not, Mortal Kombat, released in 1995, which was a little bit longer, but about an hour and a half as well. That film, when that came out, when it ended its box office run, made $122 million. This film, can you guess how much money this film made? I don't know what its budget was, but it doesn't matter.
Probably $70 million.
51.
Wow,
So
even I lowballed it,
less than half, unfortunately, and that's probably why they didn't make a third one back then.
Probably a number of reasons they didn't make a third.
Well, the movie's bad, number one, but not even entertaining bad. The first one was entertaining bad. I think maybe this movie opening up with killing off the entertaining bad character right away is a bad sign for the fate of this movie. Very stiff acting from everyone else. But yeah, so we watched Mortal Kombat Annihilation for today's episode of the Sonic Movie Show
to get hyped.
Because next week we are actually talking about the new 2021 Mortal Kombat film that is on HBO Max and theaters as well. We're going to be saying it from the safety of our home because we still have about a week or two left of that vaccine juice to flow through us before we can once again join our brothers in the sun.
To just probably still risk our lives. For you, the audience. All right?
My life is forfeit. Because in order to succeed in this world, you must win at Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Because fighting someone to the death and winning only gives your world about 30 years. You said a generation. That's a 30-year time period. That fucking sucks. Here's my problem with this universe. And if it's been a year since we talked about the first movie, so I'm assuming a lot of you out there haven't listened to that episode. So just to reiterate, Devin is a much bigger Mortal Kombat fan than I am. I don't actually really care all that much about the games. I own Mortal Kombat 11 on my PlayStation 5. I played it once. I will go back and finish it because I spent money on that. That's what you do with video games. But I'm very, 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 very uncertain about. I don't even know who the main character would be. I guess it would be Liu Kang of the games because
Liu Kang.
He's in the movie. He's the main guy. But besides that, I probably would have guessed Scorpion. Devin over here, much bigger fan.
Scorpion's always been the marketing face.
The box.
Sub-Zero. Yeah.
Yeah.
People like the ninjas.
I mean, they have a better look than Liu Kang, at least in this movie. But yeah, so to reiterate all that stuff, I'm very, very, very. I don't understand this lore at all. And from what I've gathered from these two movies, the lore sucks. This universe sucks. The movies don't attempt at all. And I understand it's probably different than the games. What I'm saying is what the movie's doing, they do not attempt to make it this is just a miserable world. This is miserable. They don't even show happiness on Earth besides Buddhist monks when in all of their conservative you don't show emotion sitting there being we're at peace. That's the happiness you see on Earth is the people at the temple. Sorry. This world sucks. You know what I mean? I don't know if you agree on that part, but for me, this movie does not set up anything interesting in its world building other than just the entire existence that you've known will be wiped away, or at least attempted to once every 30 years, unless someone that's really good at karate can kick this man. You know what I mean?
Beat a dude with 4 arms.
Oh, but we can cheat anyway, so who gives a fuck?
Yeah, that's classic Mortal Kombat logic, where it's just like they're gonna cheat. Like I think in the games after the first like 2 or 3 games, they just started doing like a Thanos, level of evil villain, where it's like I just want to rule all over the realms, all the realms. And Earth is one of the realms, or like humans are in a certain realm. And yeah, the whole idea, because this is Shao Kahn, this is, I think, kind of close to the game, where Shao Kahn just wants to be the king of all the realms, and he's from Outworld, where we spend most of our time, I guess, merging into. But I don't play Mortal Kombat for the lore. I know some people are into it in a weird, like, this shit is goofy as fuck. It's definitely, like, not supposed to make any sense, and it's supposed to be like, yeah, this guy's back from the dead because you like him.
Well, that's a video game. That's fighting game logic. They're fighting games I like where like, this guy's supposed to be dead. Well, fuck you. You put him in the new game. Just put him in the new game.
Yeah,
like people still want to play as him.
Like when they kill, like Sub-Zero dies in the story in the first game. And they're like, well, we need to bring him back. It's people like Sub-Zero. I mean, it's Ninja. Right. So like they do that. And I will say that going in, I didn't know what to expect, because the first one we watched and we thought it was just it's trash, but it's like a fun trash to have on when you and your friends are getting drunk, and the soundtrack's fun, and like it's loosely based off the games, but there's all your favorite characters from the games at the time.
Are you talking about the first movie or the second?
First movie, and then the second movie, there's a lot more characters in this that I wasn't expecting, but makes sense considering when this movie came out, and I think Mortal Kombat 3 was out at this point. I don't know.
Okay.
But there's a couple of characters in there that I'm like, oh, hell yeah, they're in this. And then, like, they just either kill them off real quick, like they're nothing. Or it's just lame. Both these movies suffer from just,
bad
like...
fight choreography.
Bad fight choreography. Bad any sort of, like...
cinematography for the fights as well. Like, it's a lot of... The camera work makes the fights look worse because it's showing like when someone goes to kick and they're like slightly adjusting the foot they have on the ground mid swing. Like it just makes it look even more amateurish than it already is.
Yeah, I'm like, I honestly think if we had a choreographed fight, it would look just as bad.
Right. Yeah.
And that's not a good thing for this movie. That's what, that shouldn't be like a compliment where it's like, oh yeah, that's better. No, it's not that much better.
Also, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
Just real quick, doesn't the last movie, the first movie, end with, and now I'm here to destroy you? And then this movie's like, and they endured peace forever until this other scenario started. That is the same guy, but it's like something else happened.
No, I interpreted it as like, just like they're kind of hanging out. They added like a little bit more. I feel like there was like a 20 more extra minutes like of them like, yeah, we're back from this cool tournament. It was great. And then like, I'm Shao Kahn and I'm here.
What I hated about this movie, besides its structure, it's needing to add characters in just because they want to have Jax in the movie, so they can probably sell action figures of him. Like this, I don't know if there was Mortal Kombat movie merchandise. I guarantee there was to some degree. I'm sure there was action figures of the people in here at the very least. Just a simple G.I. Joe with no elbows, just moving the arms. The very least. Like, that's why they're just adding in these characters. It has nothing to do with the storytelling, but at the end of the day, the story is supposed to be a hero's journey for Liu Kang to prove himself. And we just honestly don't see that. We're just told that he's doing this, and then, like, he's done. Like, when he fights Shao Kahn at the end, I'm like, I don't even think this guy even, like, has done anything. Like, he talked to the only cool-looking character in the entire movie, which was Nightwolf or whatever his name was. Mainly because, like, he was very traditionally dressed and didn't look like a dumbass like the other ones, you know what I mean? But then, like, he didn't finish what was that about? And he's just like, actually, well, we're here anyway, so punch. I win.
Yeah. There's a lot of just, like, weird decisions they did with moving the characters along.
We need to capture the women characters again, even though they're also fighters. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. I think the brilliance of the first one was that it was so bad it was good. When this one feels, this feels like they forced it almost too much at moments, or they're like, let's just do the same thing instead of actually be like, okay, but like you could have learned something from that.
We have characters that sacrifice themselves in this movie.
Like no one learned anything going into this one. I obviously felt like if they did both movies in one go. Maybe they did. I don't know. I doubt it. But based off the casting changes, two people are different. The Raiden.
Oh yeah,
Raiden's had a new actor, and
Sonya
Blade also had a new actor. And I don't know if the same guy who played Jax briefly in the first one was the same guy either. I don't remember.
I don't even remember that he was in that movie.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. Like I didn't like absolutely hate it or anything like that. I was just kind of like, okay, so like you didn't like learn anything from the first. Like the first one's fun and dumb, but like you still could have improved somewhere, and I feel like you didn't. I feel like if anything, you just made it worse.
You could have sat down and be like, all right,
we got away with
we made $122 million. Let's take a look. Let's sit here and actually think. Let's ask around, because it's the 90s and not everyone's on the internet, because the internet is mostly like message boards for the most part, but not everyone's on there. Let's ask people what they liked about this movie, because we clearly are in our own critical lens right now of like being a little bit defensive when we see a review that says this movie's terrible and that's it. You know what I mean? Figure out what people liked about that and just expand on that. Make a better movie, but you can still keep the dumb shit that people still found like entertaining. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying like in 1 week we will see the Mortal Kombat 2021 movie, and while I have no expectations and I only watched the trailer once, and maybe twice, but really only remember I basically remember the screenshots that people used in articles. That's about it, right? They could go super serious with the story, they could not, I have no idea. But like this really seems to me that a bunch of suits sat around and be like, all right, we need to make a franchise out of this because we're going to make so much money. What do we need to do? Well, we need to add this character and 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 this character because Mattel is going to make all these action figures and that's going to make us the money. That just seems what it's like. Like there's no story. There's just events that happen.
And I understand you want to make it, if you're like your goal is to make it campy and cheesy. That's fine. That's totally okay. And
I don't think they wanted to.
I don't know. Like, I feel like they did to a certain extent. I mean, I know Ed Boon was involved with the movie, like in the writer's room to a certain extent. And
he's the one that says, "Get over here."
Yeah,
it's always his voice.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, like, so, and I know him. He's kind of a campy guy, and based off the games too, there's dumb shit in it, of course. So it's like I understand that, like, you want to put that in there. In the first one, I think kind of gets away with it because it's more of just a bad film. This is so goofy and whatever. It's a cult classic.
It feels like they really wanted to be taken seriously, and I'm like, I don't take your really bad CGI dragon seriously. I really don't. This looks like
it's not. I let that pass. It's more of just like, why are like some of the actors like Sub-Zero? No offense to the dude who's playing him. That looks like me out wearing a Sub-Zero. I dressed up as Scorpion for Halloween, and I know I looked goofy because I'm a skinny ass motherfucker. I'm not a ninja. Get someone who actually has some bulk to him, who looks like he should be in a fight. That dude looked like a dude. Anyone at the office, like they're like, hey, anyone want to be Sub-Zero? Like that's what
will give
the
props.
Casting is weird.
I will give props in the sense that they didn't just whitewash this film and the first one. Like there are plenty of Asian people in this film.
Oh yeah, no, give me
to that degree. But what I'm pointing is that like perhaps you should have honestly gotten even more because, and this is just a stereotype, but I'm pretty sure you can find people that know Taekwondo, and you can find people that are actually good at acrobatic stuff. Sorry, and we talked about this a year ago. The guy that played Liu Kang is actually he's actually able to do all this stuff, which is why in the first movie his fights are the only ones that are like the least bit entertaining at all in terms of watching how they work. But my point is that everyone else, like when they do like a jump or flip, you can tell that was not seamlessly part of the fight. It's another shot. There are moments, yeah, and now you can obviously see the easy things of like, person's hair is muddy, and now it's not. Well, clearly they just changed it to a new outfit. All this kinds of stuff. Duh. But it's even easier to see, like, person goes to jump, and then it cuts to a shot of the air angled up, so you can see someone kind of rolling in the air. That's the jump. Like, they're not interesting. They look really stiff and really bad.
Actually watched an interview like a month or two ago with Robin Shou and the guy who played Jesus Christ, what's his name?
He's in the movie too?
No,
they did say that the Earth was made in 6 days, and on the 7th day.
Johnny Cage, who played Johnny Cage, and they were both like playing the original Mortal Kombat game or whatever together, but they were interviewing him, and Robin Shou actually said he broke his ribs doing one of the stunts for the first movie, and they actually used that shot where he broke his ribs, and it's the shot where he fights Reptile, and he gets shoved into like this big like pillar. He says like, the way I hit that pillar, he's like, I fractured 2 of my ribs in the back. Damn. And I'm like, but those, like you said, those felt real because he's actually throwing his body around when these guys are like the last movie, the first movie, like the worst fight was Kano and Sonya Blade. That was so awkward for everyone involved, I felt like. And like no one at any point was like, can we even get like
we need to rewrite this scene. Let's just say that something happened and we show something else.
Or like get stunt doubles. Like, even if that doesn't even look remotely like them, just like something better than...
Oh, that was honestly bad. That's like honestly one of the only moments in the movie that I really remember pretty vividly. Her like lame ass rolling on the floor, him being like, I'm gonna do it. Type of stompy shit. Like,
yeah.
God damn. Like, but some of that stuff carries over to here, though.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, is like, it doesn't get any better because you're not hiring people who can really either act fighting well. Like, there's people who aren't trained in any way who can act fighting well.
Or even like write/direct the fights. You need someone that knows, like, you know what I mean? And it almost feels like, well, again, clearly, at least my perspective on the matter is that this film was made by suits. Like, just, we need these things. Let's make it as cheap as possible. In fact, I'm actually going to look up what the budget is. Because it's either lower or it's higher, and the excuse is that the CG shit.
Yeah, because you got to remember, we got, like, it was 97. So, like, CG isn't going to be that great. In the first one, the CG wasn't that great because they had moments where they used CGI.
$18 million for the first one and $30 for the second. So yeah, it is higher. I guarantee that level of CG is more expensive. They got more people, they got locations, but it honestly just doesn't show. It just really just doesn't show.
Like, yeah, like the costumes didn't look good for the most part.
No, a lot of people in just latex. Like
there was only a couple that like one of Shao Kahn's armor looked cool at one point, and it looked close to what he looks like in the game. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I think what's her name? It's funny, like, I play these characters in the games and I just totally blank on them when we're recording. What else is new? Sindel, like, has her...
She looked awful.
She looked awful, but that's what she looked like in the game. So, like, they did... I will give them credit. Not that I'm saying it looks good on screen. I think they could have done something different, which is what I think we'll see in the new Mortal Kombat movie, is where they... Like, yeah, they based it off what they look like in the game, but they had to make it look realistic.
We have to redesign it.
Realistic for movies, you know what I mean? And like, that's how Sindel looked, that's how Shao Kahn looked, but you know, it still just wasn't that good, you know, the costumes. Man. Besides Nightwolf, I think had the best costume.
His was very simple, and his just worked, and he was very briefly in the scene, and he didn't fight anyone. Like, really, he threw an axe, and that was about it, like the blunt end. But like,
and then there's other ninjas that they just kill off. They kill off Ermac. He gets thrown in the... Or no, that was Rain, I think. They throw him into just the fire, which doesn't make any sense to me, which I think that's funny. They throw the guy named Rain into the fire and he dies.
That was in the scene where Shao Kahn's like, I need a general. Yeah.
Ermac was the one ninja at the end that doesn't use any of his powers, really.
Yeah, the guy with the red. I was actually keeping up on who was who, even though the movie has no interest in actually telling you who these people are. You know what I mean? Which is...
They could have added to the campiness, being like, who are you? He's like, my name is Shiva or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
it wasn't in style yet in this late 90s, but you could definitely have the thing where like the graphic pops up that says the person's name. You know what I mean? However stupid it is, you know what I mean? They could have, like, that almost kind of seems like you have this guy named Ermac. They don't say his name in the movie at all. Now sell a toy on him. Who was he again? You know what I mean? Like, no, I know that.
I know. I'm saying like a kid at the store would be like, Reddish Ninja, Mortal Kombat.
What was his thing?
This one?
He like did a leg sweep, and like Sonya Blade like basically did the backwards throw that Ryu and Ken do in Street Fighter on him. That's about it. Like what was his cool thing? And obviously,
the robot, the Cyrax, I think his name was.
No, fuck those guys.
Smoke was the other one, I believe. Also, they had Shinnok in here, who looks so much cooler in the games, and he's just like a dude, a wizard that has like, he's the dad of Shao Kahn, I guess.
Yeah, just sitting there being like, we're gonna do this shit, and I'm actually mad at you.
Keeping on the design part, why did they have Raiden change halfway through?
Because he became mortal, and now that's what he looks like now.
So does he cut his hair off and wears a I don't even know what to call it.
I'm one of you now. I don't know.
That's actually looked more like Kung Lao, actually, with that outfit. He just was missing the hat.
Hilariously, this movie is trying to do a Jesus sacrificing for his people type of thing with Raiden a little bit. And of course they like kind of, I don't want to say foreshadow this, but like right in the beginning of the movie when they kill Johnny Cage and then the statue raises up, of course he's in the crucifixion pose on top of the statue as it raises up. I'm like, they clearly look as like this godlike person is choosing to become mortal and then dies for us, is like, wow, cool. Except that dude sucked because he didn't do anything but just chastise and say very obviously yet apparently wise things to them. You need to, these arms, they're not good for you. Maybe think about punching like a real man. These arms are your weakness. It's like, yes, it's very obvious.
Which doesn't make any sense in the world of Mortal Kombat, by the way. Like in Mortal Kombat, you should have more weaponry. That should be the goal. You should have a gun. It's ideal. Or shoot magic fireballs. Something. You shouldn't be like, okay, I'm just a dude. Like even like I think the only characters in Mortal Kombat that don't have any special abilities, I think there's only one, and it's Sonya Blade, which is like a military person. Even they like retcon, I think, later on to having Johnny Cage having like some sort of like magic to him, that like that's part of his why he's been such a great stunt actor, is because he can withstand damage and like he can jump further, like dumb shit like that. But
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited for like when they showed Motoro, and I'm like, hell yeah. Like this fucking he's in Centaur. One game. Yeah, he's in one game because he's just stupid big and probably wouldn't work with any like modern day mechanics for a fighting game. But sure. He's in it, and I'm like, okay, cool. I remember him in the games when I had it as a kid. I'm like, I was kind of excited for him, and then they showed Shiva, and I'm like, okay. Then Ermac was there. I'm like, okay. And then like they kill Shiva in the lamest way possible. The cage falls on her.
But she has 4 arms. She should just be able to grab it, and isn't she strong? That was my thought. When
I thought they would fight in like me right now. I'm like, I know 90s there's cheese everywhere. But like you could punch her arms off or something. Like Liu Kang can like rip one of her arms off and beat her with it.
No creativity in this movie. There's straight up no creativity in this movie. None. I'm Sub-Zero. I'm going to make an ice bridge, even though the 3 of us will just jump this gap anyway.
Yeah.
No creativity. Like, yeah, there was a couple moments that ice bridge fight was maybe really the only good example of like that I could see of like maybe someone was like, oh, let's try to make this fight kind of look like a 2D video game fight. Maybe. But for the most part, it's just really lame, just like basic ass karate. And I don't really know what any of that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm completely not knowledgeable on the subject, but like, it just seems so basic, and just everything is just, I don't see any I don't in any of these fights, I don't see any instances where our heroes show their prowess in the battlefield in terms of being able to find an enemy's weakness, or like trying to set something up, or just understanding the situation and how are they best going to take this guy down. It's just always just reactions. I react to him, he reacts to me. I react to him, he reacts to me, back and forth until I win. That's just all. It's not entertaining to watch. The story does not support any of these fights in terms of the before and after. Like, there's no, like, changes, you know what I mean? His characters just walk away at the end, or like, oh, I get captured. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, you can do that if the choreography and the fights were fun. You could honestly have it go from one fight to the next, one fight to the next, one fight to the next. That's fine and can be entertaining. That's literally what the Mortal Kombat story modes typically are, is 5 minutes of cutscenes being like, wow, we need to go here. Okay. Oh no, the bad guy's here. Don't worry, Liu Kang. I got him. And then, you're fighting with Johnny Cage or whatever. Cool, whatever. You're there. You're here to play the game. You're not playing a video game here. So you have to make sure the thing that is what is Mortal Kombat, which is fighting to the death, gore, none of that's there. Like, this isn't, to me, wasn't even really, like, it's like the Monster Hunter films, the only Monster Hunter film, where they have the properties, like the visual identifications of these characters, what Mortal Kombat looks like, but it isn't what Mortal Kombat acts like.
None of the reasons why the game identity, the fun identity, none of that's there. It is just literally like the action figure identity. What does this man do? All right, we will make a simple mold for an action figure where you can incorporate the missile coming out of the chest. Cool, there's a hole in his chest that you can put a tiny little rocket in. Cool. Oh, what does this guy do? Oh, wow, he's got big metal arms. So we will have a regular black man action figure with big metal arms. That's just all I see in this movie, is just, here are the toys. They are very simple molds to make because we do not care about these characters.
This movie was rated PG-13 for non-stop martial arts violence. That's a lie. It's not non-stop. There was barely any martial arts violence. And sorry, Mortal Kombat, you should be rated R. Rated M for mature. Isn't that the whole selling point of Mortal Kombat was the fatalities? There's not one fatality in this. Do you remember one?
No.
At least the first one.
Someone says finish him, but it's not in the context of the fight is over. It is the fight's about to begin.
I think in the first one there is like there's moments where like there's something close to a fatality, and I'm like, I let it get away with it because it's 95 and there's only so much you can do. But here I just felt like it was just like guy falls over or melts or turns into, they fall over and then like the dragon comes out of their shoulder and it leaves.
There's no blood.
Barely any blood.
There's no blood. Like, Shao Kahn has his neck scratched. That's the only blood I remember seeing, but it's not dripping. It's just, it could be just makeup for all I know. It probably was makeup, but like that's, you know what I mean? It's just an image.
Yeah, I feel like we let the first one kind of pass because it's cheesy fun, whatever. But they didn't learn anything going into this one. And like there were so many things that we, like just from the top of our heads, I feel like they could have easily added more blood. Like when someone gets punched, they spit blood out towards the screen. Like that would have already been 10 times better than most of the fights in the first movie. But they didn't even do that. They didn't do the bare minimum.
Do you remember the Mortal Kombat blood controversy in the games back in the day? How the Super Nintendo version of, it might have been 2 or 3, probably wasn't the first game, when they actually had the blood in the games, Super Nintendo version had it recolored to look like sweat, but the Genesis version had the blood.
That's
Nintendo's, no, you want to go to Sega if you want to have, I mean, the games on those consoles were not good anyway. Like that was a game you would want to play in arcades, if anything. But yeah, that was the big thing of like, oh man, this blood's the identity, and this movie has none. There's none. Like, yeah, like the movie is going to seem, the new movie that we'll see next week is going to seem a lot less violent than the games, because if the X-ray, vision bone shattering and all this, if that was in the movie, it would not even be rated R. It would be rated A, AO or X or whatever the step of like, you can't show this in theaters is.
I mean, you could pull a Saw. Saw is pretty nasty at some moments, and they got away with not leaving it PA. That one Saw movie where the dude's in that chair with each limb moving completely 360, and it just tears their arms off, their bones shatter out of their skin. That was
yes, but there's a difference between me rushing up to you, ripping your arms off, sticking a blade through your chest. You get to see the insides rupture, and I drag it up your body through your neck, and you know what I mean? Like, that's completely different. That is crazy, frightening, intense violence, and then the whole movie would be like that. In theory, if it's like, 10 and 11.
From the trailers, it looks like there's gonna be blood, and then they're gonna make sure there's a decent amount of it. There's gonna be fatalities. There's gonna be.
Actually, this is a good point and jumping off point. I think we've said enough about Annihilation that we can think of.
I just want to add one last thing. This movie sucked. The first one has its moments. Is better. Has its moments. It's not a full-fleshed Mortal Kombat movie, but it has that Mortal Kombat energy that this one doesn't have. The fights are worse in this, and that's saying something.
It ends on a dour note.
At least Goro was cool in the first one and had his cool fights. But like, this is just, there was nothing. There's nothing in this, man.
None of the fights were less creative. There's no Johnny Cage dipping through trees.
One other change I would have made Vin Diesel Shao Kahn. Then I would have been more interested.
Yeah. So that's everything you have left about Annihilation. I don't have anything else to add. Movie sucks. We didn't even do the what do we like about this movie, because whatever. Everything we liked about this movie was done better in the first one, if at all. Let's jump to now. This is mainly me asking you questions because I don't really have answers for this. What do you want to see in the new movie that we'll see next week? What are your hopes for this movie? Do you want them to learn anything from this movie we watched this week? Do you expect any cameos? Do you know what I mean?
That kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm like mildly hyped for it. I mean, I've platinumed Mortal Kombat 11 back in, what was it? Last year, November. It felt like yesterday because I really grinded it out the last 20 hours of that game over like 3 weeks, which is pretty good for me for a video game. Yeah, from the trailer, this looks cool. I don't think it's gonna be like, I'm not expecting it to be like groundbreaking level. I'm actually not even expecting it to be, the last two big video game movies we've gotten was Sonic and Detective Pikachu, which is kind of like the foundation of this show, it feels like at moments.
Yeah.
I don't know if it needs to be that level of success in, I guess you could say, not like, I mean success in the sense of not money, but just like well received. Hey, like, this is good. This is what a video game movie should be like. It doesn't necessarily have to hit every 5 stars on that, but I think I hope that it's just not trying to make it too, like, it looks like it's gonna be grounded for the most part, but I hope they don't lose its cheese factor that Mortal Kombat has. I hope there's some comedy in it. I hope there's some dumb one-liners in it. There's some comic relief. I hope there's actually fatalities in it. I want people to die. I want characters to die permanently. Like, they're just, okay, this guy was just beheaded. Cool. And I want to keep it, I hope they also have it be like where like maybe one of the main characters dies halfway through and like keeps it honest to like, can Liu Kang die? Can Kung Lao die in a fight? Like, you keep it honest for like where anyone could die, not just the good guys. To me, like Mortal Kombat, like anyone can win, so I kind of hope they have that in there. Kind of just rambling here, but that's just like where my brain is going with this, where I hope the characters are passable. I'm not expecting, like they said, I'm not expecting like this big melodramatic art piece about the plight of man in this movie. I just want, like, if it hits, to me, to be like awesome if it hits like the same level as Sonic, but I'm not expecting it. Like I said, I want it to just be good. I don't need it to be great. I just want it to be good, and I don't know, hopefully bring more people to the Mortal Kombat and whatnot. I think that's always a goal. In terms of cameos, I think it'd be cool if
before you go into that, I think the best case scenario for this movie is that it is a string of very well done choreographed fight scenes that showcase a bit of creativity about what the characters can do what the situation is around them, the context before, and actually have results afterwards, which is what our complaints about this movie was. However, I unfortunately don't think we'll get that. We will get cool fight scenes, but I don't think it'll be as simple as just that idea with a very thin plot. I don't expect us to get anything campy at all. I don't think that in this day and age, this type of movie coming to theaters, I understand COVID is a thing, but like this is like a tentpole release for Warner Brothers. It probably won't.
I think it should be cool to have.
I think they're going to
it, but
I would prefer that. I don't want it to take it seriously. It's serious enough to actually make the deaths kind of feel like they have impact. But I expect them to try to make a serious story in this movie. And that is where the worry is. Like, I honest to God have no doubt that they nailed the fight scenes and the fighting. They have to. If they don't, then what the fuck did you do? Like, that's honestly, that's what you should have done.
That should be the number one priority. Number one priority should be...
I'm assuming that they did. I'm assuming I'm going to be entertained. I'm assuming that it's going to work out and be cool. But I worry about the actual story, the actual plot. Like,
it easily could be the closest, like, maybe it's just because, like, I don't know where it's coming from, but maybe it's because we've been watching so many Paul W.S. Anderson films. But Alien versus Predator, where like some of the fight scenes are cool and have their moments, but the plot is just not that good or interesting or like, okay, fine, like nothing like, nothing where you're gonna be like, man, I want to learn more about that, like there's like Mortal Kombat has such a big in terms of like different areas of where they could go in terms of stages and whatnot. Like they really could like explore that. Like it could be like, okay, they're in a market somewhere and all of a sudden the camera turns to almost like a 2D view and like you're like, oh shit, this is that stage from this game. Yeah. But like I didn't look at it from that lens. Like it was the same street the entire time, but now I see it. You know what I mean? Like that'd be cool. Stuff like that. I hope they kind of explore that and they don't need to explain everything either. I hope, I think I can add to the campiness where it's just like, yeah, Shao Kahn's here. All you gotta know is he's a big bad guy who wants everything. All right, cool. You know the stakes now with that. And I'm just worried it'll be too serious. Like you said, it might be serious. I just hope it's not too serious because I think we've seen video game movies do that and they fail. I don't think we've gotten a video game movie where we've watched where the plot is super serious and it was good. Assassin's Creed had it like was the closest to that, but it wasn't good. It was all right. You know what I mean?
It was confusing.
It's confusing, but
I would say probably the best video game movie we've seen that wasn't Detective Pikachu or Sonic might be Prince of Persia, because at least it didn't take itself too seriously.
It's fun. Has comic relief throughout. Has comedy. You know what I mean? We'll see if it has that in there. I don't know. I'm excited for it. Like I said, I'm just not like trying to get my hopes up too much and I'm going to be disappointed. I just hope the fights are cool and I hope the advertising makes it seem that they're really hyping up. Here's each character. Here's what they can do. You're here to see them fight. Who will win? You know what I mean? That's cool. I don't know. I'm just...
Do you expect, because I cut you off before and I'm cutting you off now to get you back to that earlier point, cameos. Do you think that this movie will acknowledge the movie we watched for today's episode and obviously the one we watched a year ago, and including the actors potentially, because as you know, the game had that DLC pack where it was the skins of the original actors for it. In addition to that, do you expect any, wow, this character hasn't been in a Mortal Kombat game in years and they're in the movie type of thing?
I feel like they really went... Well, there's one character in it who's not in any of the games, and that's... I think his name is like Cole or something, and everyone thinks he's actually going to be the next Sub-Zero or something, because they mention, I think, in the trailer that the Sub-Zero in this movie is the bad Sub-Zero. Bihan, I believe his name is. I could be messing that up. There's so much fucking lore. I'm sure I messed it up already. Bihan, who's the bad Sub-Zero who killed Scorpion's brother or something, and then Scorpion in the movies kills him, and then his Bihan's son winds up becoming the next Sub-Zero. And like, what if he has this dragon tattoo in the trailer? So maybe he's the whole time he's part of the Lin Kuei or whatever. So maybe there's that there, or he's just a new character. People hope he's not replacing Johnny Cage, which if that's the case, I'd be pretty disappointed if he's like that kind of guy. Because I feel like Johnny Cage, it's my one concern is that Johnny Cage isn't in this movie, unless he is, but I feel like he'd be in the advertising. He's another one of those like staple pieces, I think, of Mortal Kombat, so to hide him would be like a little weird to me. But any characters I think that would be, I don't know. I mean, I feel like they've shown like a lot of the, so they've shown, I think they've shown every character that's going to be in it, I think. Unless there's just one-off that's going to be in there. But I don't, and if it is a one-off, I don't think it's going to be someone like that's only been in one game. It's going to be
you don't expect your expectations to be
it's
shattered.
It's going to be a Smoke or something where it's like he hasn't been in the games recently, but like he's still well known enough that it isn't going to be like, okay, who's this guy? And I think if you try to add too much in though, then you become too fan servicey, and that could be a problem too. You can easily fuck that up. I think you have to add a little bit of add enough of for the Mortal Kombat fans, the one who are really going to pay the big money to go see this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the general audience who's like, I've played one game 10 years ago, but this looks like it could be fun. I have HBO Max. Sure.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
So I feel like if you don't try to like do too much with it,
so now
it's a balance between, I think they need to do a balance between campiness, showing the Mortal Kombat characters that we all know and love, but also making it not too serious and generalize it for the general people to not get bored with the lore or anything like that, and make the fights good, of course.
Next
Fatalities.
question. I only watched the trailer once, and I wasn't paying too much attention to try to suss out a plot for the movie, so I don't know if it had it or not. But my question to you is, what do you think the plot of the movie is going to be? Is it going to be like the first one, where it's like, hey, the fate of the Earth rests in this tournament's hands? Or will you win? Or is it going to be like this, this weird plot of trying to take over and alliances must be crossed and blah, blah, blah? Or is it just like, 20 men enter, one man saves the world?
Well, I think the Cole guy is our main character. I think it's the whole plot is going to go around him, and not what's his name?
Liu Kang?
Liu Kang, which I think is, I know a couple of Mortal Kombat fans on on Twitter or whatnot, I've seen they're a little concerned about that. I think it's going to go around him, and then Liu Kang is going to be like his buddy for the most part, or like teach him or something. I think it's going to stem around him, and I think the military, which is Jax, Sonya Blade, all them, they're going to be the ones trying to follow him because they think he's a key to something, some sort of new power or whatever it may be. Because in the trailer they mentioned that, like, oh, there's this ancient tournament called Mortal Kombat, and like we must travel to here, and all the world's best warriors come to this. I don't know if it is going to be if we don't win, we're the Earth's doom. I'm not sure. I think in the games that is generally the idea, though, so maybe they'll have that in there.
Damn.
I think the military is going to be its own subplot that's following Cole or Liu Kang, one of the two, and it's going to lead them to this battle, and then they're going to have to fight in Mortal Kombat or whatever. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be also a subplot of Scorpion versus Sub-Zero, like they have in the game. But I think they're gonna really like go more deeper into that, more than just like a text file that says, "Hey, this happened. That's why he mad." Like I think they're gonna either show some action that happened, or there's gonna be some sort of. I think there's gonna be multiple fights. That's my one maybe hot take. I think there's gonna be multiple fights between Scorpion and Sub-Zero
instead of like a 5-minute one in this movie.
Yeah,
that we watched today.
And they're not like, I think there's gonna be like times where they're going to get cut off so they can't continue their fight, and like there's going to be a moment where they do fight to the death.
Interesting.
And Scorpion, I'm sure, will win. Team Sub-Zero.
Especially since you say that the Sub-Zero in the movie might be the bad one, then of course. Anything left to add for your anticipation for this movie? Because we will return next week to discuss it.
Yes, I do know that they remixed the original Mortal Kombat theme song, which I think is awesome because that song is a banger for the 90s, and I'm glad that they kind of remixed it for a 2021 feel. And it gets, I hope they kind of, that's one way you can add to the campiness to it, is if you have some music that isn't supposed to be like, oh my god, end of times, defend the earth. It's just like, hey, we're fucking fighting in a abandoned building or whatever. Yeah, but no, I'm excited for it, but I also am not trying to get too hyped. And I hope it surprises me though. I always hope a movie surprises me and does something I wasn't expecting. And who knows, maybe it could be a great video game movie. I think we need another one. After Sonic, Monster Hunter didn't deliver for sure.
No, oh my god, that movie was terrible. we had a good video game movie in 2020 and a bad video game movie in 2020. Do you think this will be the good or the bad for 2021?
That's what I'm saying. We need a 2021 movie to represent 2021 because we don't have any. Because it was Detective Pikachu for 2019, Sonic for 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to be 2021's video game movie? Mortal Kombat, you're up, baby.
It's that or I guess Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, so we will return next week to discuss the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie. It'll be a lot closer to when we record these episodes that it'll be posted, so you'll be getting some fresher live takes. We will see you next week. Follow the show on Twitter at Jesus, I blanked on our own freaking show's name. At Sonic Movie Show. I'm on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely. Devin is on Twitter at CURSONA YouTube. Give him a shout out. Ask him about Mortal Kombat. We will see you next week for Mortal Kombat, the movie.
The film.
Goodbye.
Test your might, suckers.